The government also creates Enerhope's Greenhouse Gas Emissions Trading Registry, a set of spreadsheets which tracks the ownership history of every allowance and every facility or organization that holds any allowances. The registry ensures that the government of Enerhope operates the emissions trading system with complete accountability and transparency. Anyone with internet web access can see the registry, which is updated every day. The registry shows the creation, allocation, transfer, and retirement of allowances. Transfer and retirement will be described later in this chapter. Any capped facility that wants to buy extra allowances can use the registry to locate allowances owned by other facilities. Here is a blank page representing one account in Enerhope's Greenhouse Gas Emissions Trading Registry. The registry records every deposit, withdrawal, and transfer of every allowance in Enerhope's Greenhouse Gas Emissions Trading System. The account spreadsheet looks like an old-fashioned bank ledger page, with the day-to-day deposits, withdrawals, and running totals of allowances in the account. Each capped facility has an account on the registry that shows every allowance that it has ever owned. The quantities and the serial numbers of all allowances ever owned by the account holder are recorded in the registry. The source of allowances for each deposit and the destination of allowances for each withdrawal are also recorded. Other account holders include the government of Enerhope, the retirement account, to be explained later in this chapter, brokers and traders who may wish to facilitate the sale of allowances between capped facilities, non-government organizations, and individuals can open accounts and buy and sell allowances. At the beginning of the year, the new allowances and their serial numbers appear in the government's account. Then, during allocation, the government withdraws these new allowances from its account and transfers them to the accounts of the capped facilities. The retirement account is the graveyard for allowances that have been retired, used up. Retirement will be covered later in this presentation. In the registry, the government can show to the public the history of every allowance through creation, allocation, trading, and retirement. The mechanics of the emissions trading registry will be explained in a later chapter. During the year, capped facilities must they are all emitting greenhouse gases. Capped facilities must monitor and report their greenhouse gas emissions. Enerhope's Greenhouse Gas Emissions Trading Regulation requires each capped facility to monitor and report on December 31st, 2015, completely, accurately, and honestly how many tons of greenhouse gases it emitted directly to the atmosphere during 2015. The required reported emissions are direct emissions only. For example, the owner of the cement kiln must report how many tons of greenhouse gases were emitted directly from the kiln. The owner is not required to report how many tons were emitted indirectly by suppliers of electricity and raw materials. During the year, registry account holders may buy and sell allowances and offsets with other registry account holders. Offsets will be explained later in this chapter. Each trade must be recorded in the registry. The purchase and sale of allowances and offsets by registry account holders can be facilitated by brokers and exchanges. At the end of the year, at the end of 2015, each capped facility is required by the regulation to report to the government its total annual direct greenhouse gas emissions. Then the capped facility must retire one allowance for each 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent that it emitted during the year. What is retirement? The CAP facility withdraws allowances from its account on the registry and transfers these allowances to the registry's retirement account. After retirement, the retirement account shows how many allowances were retired by each CAP facility and the serial numbers of these retired allowances. The total retirement for each capped facility can be compared with its reported annual emissions. The retirement account functions as a graveyard for retired allowances. The tombstones are marked with the serial numbers of the retired allowances. Retired allowances are never transferred out of the retirement account. The total number of allowances in the retirement account at the end of the year should equal the total emissions by CAP facilities in that year. This total should be equal to or less than the cap for that year. How many allowances should each capped facility retire? Here's a working example of a retirement calculation. How many allowances must CAP facility X transfer to the retirement account at the end of 2015? That's right, 5,700 allowances. Notice that one allowance represents 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. During retirement, each CAP facility may retire its allocated allowances, allowances transferred from other registry accounts, banked allowances from previous years, or purchased offsets. Each capped facility must decide how to meet its regulatory requirement, whether through emission reductions during the year or through purchase of additional allowances and offsets to supplement its allocated allowances at retirement. Some of the CAP facilities may find that they can easily reduce their emissions at low cost. If they reduce their emissions below the number of allowances they have been allocated, they will have extra allowances to sell to other CAP facilities or to bank in their accounts for future years. Offsets will be explained later in this chapter. Congratulations, you have just completed Cap and Trade. This presentation has been brought to you by www.enerhope.com. The Mysteries of Emissions Trading Unraveled. A free course in emissions trading, including a glossary of terminology, is available from the enerhope.com website.